Hey, everybody, it's Dr. Sam, and I want to welcome you to another EyeClarity podcast. We are at podcast 117. I can't believe it. And we have a great show today as part of my Pre-Vision Summit interviews. I'm inviting the featured speakers on. And today we have two guests who are going to be presenting at the summit. And they are Maria and Mark Ompish, and they're speaking to me all the way from Greece, where they're based. Just a little bit of background about Mark and Maria. They have studied so many modalities. They've actually founded together something called the Living Body Academy, which helps people explore possibilities and inspires them for a deeper wellness and health quotient. And they also offer online classes and workshops in the field of continuum movement, somatic education, and stress and change management. Their background is vast in trauma, in somatic education, body work, counseling, and I'm so honored to have them at the summit. They're going to be presenting each morning. And our common bond is, of course, Continuum Movement, which was founded by Emily Conrad. And, talking about the fluid body, because we're made of mostly fluid. And Continuum Movement is a way for us to access a deeper fluidity within us. And so I'm going to bring Mark and Maria on, and I want to ask you to start off with what is your vision of health, especially as you bring in the movement, somatic education, and continuum movement. Love to hear your philosophies on what you bring to people.
Hi, Sam. Thank you for the invitation. First of all, I'm so honored to be with you and work with you. Health. The most important thing for us is that what we believe is that a system, how the system can be adaptive, the more possible to the influences of the environment. So the capacity of change and the capacity of reorganizing itself around the influences of the environment. So this is a system that can sustain itself, can change, transform, and evolve. And this is for us the basis for health. And first of all is prevention, which means how we can stay fluid in all aspects, fluid in our movement, in our spirit, in our behavior, in our way of being with other people and with ourselves, of course.
And we live in a culture which promotes speed, acceleration. How do you perform on kind of an external way, and to be in touch with this self-regulation, strength and force within requires kind of a self-reference. You have to decide to turn your attention from all these stimuli you get offered towards what's going on within. So health is a birthright, but in the environment we live in, we get invited in so many distortions that it's quite a job. It requires practice to stay stable in this self-regulation possibilities.
Yeah, and so I totally resonate with that, and I think my audience does too. They don't really know a lot about continuum movement, And so I'd like you to speak for a few minutes about what is continuum movement and how do you help people, as you say, self-regulate, self-reference, access their birthright through continuum movement?
Actually, it's not something that comes from its outside. It's not a way or a method that we have to learn. It's our natural way of being, how we can return to what was there, to the optimal blueprint when we were embryos. So how we can return to this kind of fluidity through breaths and sounds, how we can have access to our fluid system. We can say all the fluids in the body, the cells, the spinal, cerebral spinal fluid, the blood, the lymph, fluid in the lymph. And we are more than 70% water, and the same is the surface on Earth, on the planet of water, 70%. This has to do something in common. So when we have access to this system, which is in our embryo, pre-nervous, which means that exists before the nervous system. So we have access to the capacity of life, of the biointelligence for evolution, for health, for life sustainment. Yeah, sorry for this. And so what we are looking is a way back to our treasure that is inside us, which is the water that keeps memory, holds memory, all beings on the planet, everything that has been before us and that will be after us, through stimulation of this water, and then we are creating waves, and we are able to dive into these waves and follow these waves. So we go back to a non-voluntary movement that comes of a state that we call it open attention, where all our attention or our sensations are present, and we can be guided by this movement through health and resilience.
And as Maria shares, so continuum movement has to do with entering a totally new way of being moved from within. Because when we think about movement, we can think about reflexes, automatic movements like walking, for example. It took us 7 years as kids for learning how to walk. Now it's automatic. Or movements with a very low degree of attention, like driving a car or playing football or tennis. Or that when it's about to stimulate through breath and sound the inner environment, it's an invitation for everyone to turn aware of very subtle changes within the system, like vibrations, for example, like attention spreading, like, for example, a contact point with the ground turning from being defensive to surrendering to the support offered by the earth. So it's kind of a body awareness development through contact with very subtle life events which emerge from within, thanks to the breath, to the sounds, sometimes to first movements that we do in the continuing practice. And then this inner life has its autonomy within us, which is a surprise for people, that something can move within that they do not control. And that is bringing a feeling of safety, softness, and being taken care of. And the continuum inquiry is how to simply develop closeness to this aliveness within, and then slowly learn or unlearn how to control the movement and turn intimate with this inner invitation from moving in a totally different way, which is rejuvenating one, a healing one, from our tensions, blockages, or fears. That's, in a couple of phrases, a kind of an introduction to this inquiry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gives tissue that it's more dense, where there is density, where there is patterns of fear, patterns of habits, due to our need for survival on the planet. And we can go back to our birthright, which is movement. So we are not doing any movement, we are the movement. We learn, or we can remember again what it means to be a movement. And as Emily said, we don't know exactly what the body is. It's a movement that took form in order to resonate with gravitational and electromagnetic field. And actually I have a small phrase from Emily that I just opened her book, which I really recommend, Life on Land, Emily Conrad, the founder of Continuum Movement. And I just opened page 247 and just need to share this. The immersion in water can be understood literally, as in many religious rituals where water is the purifying element, or as I said, we become the water. Like dolphins who return to the sea after millions of years, we can return to our inner sea, where the dissolution of boundaries, structure, and form leads to a greater whole, where life-sustaining nutrients are once again absorbed, and one now is filled with the splendor of recurring existence. So, actually, whenever you open in any page, any sentence, it's so deep and so profound, inspiring concerning our soma, which is a Greek word for body, which is body and spirit together, consciousness of the biology. So it's the biointelligence of our biology. So we are in continuum, we remember and we re-educate ourselves to come back to this awareness, to this biointelligence of our fluid nature, and we can become more fluid, more adaptive to the environment, more resilience with ourselves and with the others.
Yeah. It's quite effective for dealing with stress.
Yes.
It's quite an efficient self-therapy. Yeah. We do experience it with our clients and our groups. In some 20 minutes, half an hour, you get rid of your daily tensions and can even enter a process of diving into your true nature.
Yes.
You are a vision specialist. Huh? So in the continuum movement experience, there is a feeling of belonging. Your vision gets expanded and interconnected with all senses. And this belonging to the life field is so reassuring. It's worth the inquiry.
Yes, so thank you for all that. We are here with Maria and Mark Umpish. They are featured speakers, which is happening next weekend, my Vision and Whole Health Summit. They are opening the summit each morning um, with the Continuum Dive. And folks, I highly recommend attending their presentation. It's very experiential, and as you both say, it helps connect us more deeply within ourselves and remember that we are whole, that we are unity. And just on a practical level, being able to experience continuum movement, even within 15 or 20 minutes, your stress can dissolve, your inspiration grows, your health gets better, your vitality. One of the things that Emily used to say, one of her terms was broadband virtuoso, and that as we drop into our fluid body, we actually we return to our remembrance of who we are. And this idea of autonomy and self-referencing, as you bring out, is so profound. And so I want to move to asking you, as you look into the future, what are your inspirations? What do you see happening post-COVID? Because I believe we're going to start moving out of COVID. And what are your inspirations? What do you see coming down that you're going to be doing in 2021 as it relates to the body and the fluid body and your health and wellness programs?
Actually, it could be a good chance to change our whole attitude. This strange, this difficult period of COVID and the after COVID, probably it could give us the opportunity to have a new look of what we really want to do, about who we really are. So our vision for the people around us, for ourselves, is how we can create a world that every and each person can come back to its own authority, its own autonomy, its own self-sufficient, and how we can connect and stay connected one to another through a more natural, authentic, more close to our true nature, to our true selves, with the others, way with the others.
And because for many people, COVID times are connected with less movement, less freedom of movement concerning traveling, concerning seeing close or beloved ones who are staying away, at least in Europe, this is the case. Sometimes online working and online communication only. So at the same time, it's an opportunity for developing this inner closeness, this inner depth. And then in a second time, keep these anchoring while being offered, again, the possibility of going outside, of moving forward, of connecting with others. Why couldn't we dream of a situation where people would connect with others from a healthy inner base they would have cultivated? This could be an inspiration. Life is at the same time fragile. We see it with people dealing with difficult expression of the COVID disease, and strong in our work, dealing entering in dialogues with tissues in manual therapy or with movement, we see how subtle and fragile life might appear. And at the same time, it's as if it could move and shift mountains, imprints from decades or generations inside us. So these shifting priorities, what do we serve? Life, for example, would, I think, bring new perspectives in the after COVID time. What do we serve?
Mm-hmm. Well, how can people get in touch with you with your online classes, and what's the best way they can reach you?
The simplest way is to enter our website, www.thelivingbodyacademy.com.
All right.
And from there, access to the information and the contact form.
Okay, and that's
entering the event.
Go ahead. What do you want to say?
It's up to everyone to find his or her modalities for exploring the living body. The somatic education movement offer the fascinating exploration and an efficient one.
And a pleasant one.
And a pleasant one at the same time.
Yeah.
And this feeling of, for example, in an online class with a group with people on 2 or 3 continents, it's a surprise for people, even in the first time, to feel that alone in their place, in their room, their house, they feel the field that we share, the connection. And this is a surprise, a good one.
Okay, well, thank you both for your time today. And we look forward to seeing you next weekend. You're going to be kicking off the summit. For those of you that have never experienced continuum movement, Mark and Maria are amazing facilitators, teachers, and so I want you to check them out. All right, you two, take good care, and look forward to seeing you next weekend.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Sam.
Okay.
Oh, good.